Sometimes when one life begins, another ends. I was laid beside my father on a hospital bed. He died minutes later from cancer. Life was given to me, death was given to him. For 20 plus years, my mom abused drugs and alcohol, wasting a fully paid scholarship in the process. She was at a point in which her quality of life was so poor, it could hardly be called living. She sold my oldest brother to the highest bidder. For drugs, she raised me alone. Living with my mother, things were never certain. Christmas wasn't Christmas. There was no tree. I remember it being a treat just to buy a used game. I can't remember a night when I felt safe, when I wasn't afraid. My mom abandoned me several times. A month after my birth, I was left with a stranger. Another time, my sister and I at the Philadelphia Zoo. I was about 4 when it happened. She told us to stay put while she went to the bathroom. We obeyed. After all, it'd been a great day. Unfortunately, she never came back for my sister or me. A family we'd been with at the zoo that night took us in for a couple nights, but they couldn't keep us. There was no sign of my mom. What would happen to my sister? Where would we stay? Where was my mother? Then I remembered that I had a grandmother who lived on 69th and Ogons. We got there, and my sister and I stayed with my grandmother until my mother appeared. I never trusted her again, but from the experience, I grew stronger. We used to live in a house in West Philly, on 52nd and Woodland. There came a night when men came pounding at the door. I remember sitting at the bottom of the stairs, my mom scrambling for the door. I ran up the stairs, looking back. The men had guns, and they started firing upward. In the room above was my baby sister lying in a crib. I ran for her, and held her as the chaos below continued. When the police came, we were taken to a foster home. I found out later that she was selling crack in the basement, and there had been a deal that had gone bad. That was the scariest moment in my life. Thankfully, nobody died that night, and I continued to grow stronger. Somehow, I ended up being with my mom again, and most of those days we spent walking. We went from shelter to shelter. They were filled with the sick, the homeless, the hungry, just as we had become. There were nights where we had to sleep on abandoned porches. Those nights were cold and frightening. I mean, all through the night, there were sirens and gunshots so frequent you could almost get used to them. Half the time, I never slept. When we weren't walking, we were taking the bus or the train. That was if my mom had the money. Wherever I went, I always needed a bus schedule. Why? Maybe because I was preparing for a day that I would get out, go away. Maybe I wanted to keep track of where I'd been, or know where I was going. Eventually, we got an apartment. By that time, I was entering the first grade. And just when it looked like things were looking up, they were the same. There were days when my mother just wouldn't come home. Just my sister and me, trying to make it day to day. I walked to school with my friend during first grade. Nobody thought it uncommon for 2 small children to walk among the drug dealers who dared show themselves in broad daylight. I wore the same thrift store clothing for days at a time. At 6, I wound up trying to go to school, as well as making sure my sister was fed. And when there wasn't enough food, I went without. The stress, the hunger, the loneliness made me strong. In June of 2002, my mom lost the lease on the apartment where strange men came barging in. We moved to yet another apartment, her friend Mike's. I'd had enough. There was something in me that knew my sister and I deserved a better life. At 7, I asked her to spend the summer with my aunt. She fed me, clothed me. She loved me. My mom didn't reply. One night, she slipped off again. I watched her go. I could tell by the look in her eye it would be the last time I would see her for a while. And I was right. 2 days later, Mr. Mike called my aunt saying, "Come and get these kids, or I'm taking them to the police." The last I heard, my mom was in jail for attempted murder and was recently released. I don't see her anymore. I look back and I'm just so thankful. Fact is, I could be dead. I could have been sold for $80. Could still be living on the streets. It's hard to believe where I've come from and where I'm at now. I look back and realize that through it all, God had to be with me. I know that a lot of kids have been in similar situations. There's some I know going down my mom's path, a few that are already dead and gone. But I grew stronger. I learned that nobody knows what tomorrow may bring. Each passing day brings a new surprise, opens a new door. I missed out on a lot of my childhood, but I don't want others to miss out on theirs. I'm glad I don't have to be the grown-up anymore, that I have parents that care, that I have a safe home. I hope that maybe by making this film, I can help others realize that there is hope. I'm a sophomore honors student at Springfield Township High School. I'm 16 years old, growing stronger each day.